Alright, hello YouTube, and happy holidays I guess, because it's getting around that time of year, so I'm going to be doing a Christmassy-ish type of tutorial, and I'm going to be getting back into doing some tutorials, and I'm also going to start doing them properly now, at least hopefully. So basically, this is what we're going to be making today. It's not completely 3D, as you can see, but it is, I don't know, 2.5D is apparently like 2D objects in 3D space, so I'd call this like 2.6D or something, I don't know. So, it's basically going to be, for the most part, something in 3D space. You can use a 3D camera with it, and it's going to be, from the title you can probably tell, we're going to be making a snow globe effect. And that's what we're going to be focusing on primarily, is this wonderful little snowball. And it doesn't perfectly work that way, but you get the idea. So, this is it's what we're going to do. So let's get into it. So let's start by opening up a new composition. Let's go 1920 by 1080, and 15 seconds is what I'm going to do. I doubt I'm even going to use that much. So, for starters, what I want to be doing is I have this image file here, and basically what I want to do is, well, first I'm going to pre-compose it, leaving all the attributes in Comp3. And so here's what I have. I actually already have one that's masked out. I used the Roto brush tool, but I'll show you how to use the Roto brush tool nice and quick. It's basically, you go through, it takes a little bit of time to get the little bits here and there to work, and that's why I was kind of thinking I'd probably do it that way, although this is working pretty well this time. And basically what you do, you click around with this this green tool, and it slowly tries to figure out what you want to mask out. And if you want to take something out of the image, hit Alt and it'll turn red, and it becomes like a negative version of the brush. And it's pretty good. It's obviously not perfect. That'd be kind of impossible, but it's really helpful. It saves a ton of time, especially when you're working on something that has video. So yeah, it's very notable to mention that it works with video. However, this is just an image file, so we're not going to be using that particular feature. So now this is what we got. That was actually really fast. Then you have some nice little options here that really make things easier. You can refine the matte, choke it a bit, because I see this little blue edge on the outside of it all. So I'm going to choke it. I'm also going to feather it to like 60%. And for some reason this is like the slowest refined matte I've ever done. But actually, let's just feather it like all the way out. And yeah, that'll do fine for now, although I want to get a very helpful thing to do is take this little exposure button and just drag it up so you can see a bit more sometimes. It really helps you see in those darker areas, because your camera actually has, in dark areas, it actually takes a lot more information in than you would expect, and from what you can see by default. You bump up that exposure and you can see a lot more than you ever really expected that you could. So so now I think I'm just going to scale this down to like 25%ish, seeing as it's a rather large file. It's, what is it? It's like 4,000 by 2,248, which is quite massive. Although it's an image file from a camera. Though cameras nowadays just tend to take like ridiculously large files. Anyway, we are going to now go on to creating the orb for the crystal ball. So how we do this, you can Google search for all kinds of textures for video files like this. Let's go level attributes or move attributes. Let's leave them all. Change it to, I should have just kept them all. 1080. Change it to 1920 by 1080, or really whatever you want. Kind of works, but I'm going to use its actual dimensions. And so what we're going to do here is scale this down so it pretty much covers the whole thing. And yeah, what you want, sorry, I should have mentioned this, is what you're wanting if you're Google searching for like a glass texture. You want like a grungy glass texture on a black background like this. So the black background basically allows you to completely take it out, and I'm not talking just doing like your standard Luma matting. You know, as much as that works, it's really not what we're doing. So yeah, we're going to take this. We are going to duplicate it, however, and we're going to hit the rotation button with R. Go to 180 degrees for the rotation, and we're going to go to polar coordinates in the effects and presets. We're going to apply this effect to both of these layers, put it at 100%. In this way it sort of like wraps it in this weird loopy way, wraps it like this. And so now we can go add the linear wipe effect to this top one here so I can see it better. I'm going to take off this bottom one. Which one's on top and which one's on bottom really doesn't matter. But now let's change. Oh, we want this to be set to 0 degrees wipe angle, and then just start changing the percentage so it's sort of in this area. Let's turn on the bottom now. Feather the crap out of this, because we want it to blend as nicely as possible. You know, I actually think I'm going to hit this little scale button, or this little chain link button here, unselect it, and just turn this to -43, or negative value, so then it sort of loops a little bit better. I like that. I'm going to keep that. I didn't do that in the original, but I'm going to do that here. Now I'm going to go to, actually I'm going to duplicate this, go to the CC sphere effect. I'm going to add this to both layers. Oh, what did I just do? I'm going to add this to both layers. The one on the bottom I'm going to change to inside, and the one on top I'm going to change to outside. So that way I'm going to also put one underneath the image and one above the image, and this way we can get our images sort of moving in 3D space, or we can get our image like to appear within the ball. So let's go change these both to screen. I think I'm going to scale this down even more, so maybe like 18. 13? I'm getting kind of small now, but yeah, that looks about nice. Get Stitch going in there. And so what he's doing now, so he's sort of inside this, and one thing we're going to do, we're going to end up doing this to a lot of layers, is we're going to, I'm going to use this one on top here as my main rotation layer, but you can use whichever one you want. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to link the rotation so that it all matches. We're going to have several of these sphere layers, so you're going to figure this out. So on the bottom one, we're going to all click on all three of these. We clicked on the stopwatch of the X rotation, Y rotation, Z rotation, and so we're going to hit U for that. It brings up everything with a keyframe. the rotation X on the bottom one, we're going to link to the X rotation on the top one. Same with the Y, and I should probably just make this a little bit bigger. And the Z. So now, if we take this, we rotate it, it rotates the back too, and this is why we change this to inside and outside, is so that we can get this really cool moving around effect. It looks sort of like a marble or something. It actually looks like a glass object, and it moves nicely in 3D space. It really looks like it's actually what it's supposed to be, and that is always nice to have if you want to change sort of how your particular what do you call it, sphere is working. You can always change the contrast with curves or something. You know, don't want to show that there. You can drop the contrast. Drop the let's change this to about half so it loads faster. After Effects has been working a little bit of overtime lately because I've been putting my computer through some tough work stuff, so it might be a little bit slow. It also has apparently been resenting me for doing a lot with it lately because it's been hating me and things sometimes not working, so I apologize if that ends up happening. So now, what we're going to do, just to make things easier, I'm probably going to turn on the title action safe here. So now what we want to do is we want to create a reflection map. So if you have a, well, I guess first we should add the background. So this is the background I'm going to be using. You know, it's interesting. Really nothing more to say. But I'm going to, seeing as I do not have a 3D environment for this, which is like a object that goes all, or a picture that shows everything in the room at once, which is very useful for doing stuff like this. I'm going to show you this weird little cheat that sort of makes it up. It's very simple. Going to duplicate that layer, pre-compose it, leave all attributes. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change that to 1920 by 1080 anyway. And scale this properly so it fits in roughly. You can be nice and picky if you want. I'm going to change the width to ×2. And then I'm going to go to the motion tile effect, which can be found under Stylize. Apply it to this, hit Mirror Edges, and change the output width to 200. This way we get, it sort of loops. It'll loop perfectly, and it sort of comes out here. It's very, very helpful, I find. It's a nice way to really cheat your way out of this whole not having a proper reflection map. Then I can go add the sphere effect. We are going to hit Alt-click on all three of these stopwatches once again, link them all once again. We've already done this, so yeah, you just pick whip it to what you're trying to make it become, put it on top of the layer. Now, as you can see here, it's now this, and as we move this around, you can see we have like this 3D version of it. The only real problem is when you have a notable object like that Christmas tree, it shows up twice. But other than that, it's a very useful effect. You can also mess around with the light and shading if you want. Make the light direction change a bit, or... Oh, that's why nothing's working. because this is a full opacity. Light height. We can change the light height. We can change the light brightness. Make things absolutely insane. Go nuts with it. I'm just going to use the default because it works perfectly fine. But now what I'm going to do is I'll pre-compose this once again. Leave all attributes, sure. And seeing as we've already linked it, it should still work. Nice. After Effects doesn't hate me too much yet. So yeah, just clean up this here by closing down some of the compositions. Now what we're going to do is... Oh, wait. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to pre-compose it, move all attributes there. And now After Effects should probably be hating me. Yeah. So, a nice easy fix for this is if we split these two up, I am still able to access them. And we can do this joyous task all over again. So yeah, let's link these once again. And the way to do that, the way to split them up is, just click this little, this little 2 rows of dots, move them to about there, and it'll split screen, as I showed you. And so now we have this. As we move it, it works. And that's kind of what we're going for. And the reason I did that is so then I'm able to use this ellipse tool for masking, because if we keep doing this, it's going to be really annoying. So, and then these numbers on the top right corner, you want them to be, you want to move it around to its exactly half of your composition size by half of your composition size, which would be exactly the center. I find that mouse keys are very, very helpful for doing this. Mouse keys are basically a way to move the mouse with your keypad. It moves it for very small, precise locations, and I find it very helpful. If I want to move something straight across in a line, I can do that perfectly. Anyway, let's stop talking about that and... So what we want to do is we want to get to that position. We're going to click, then hit Control and Shift, and for some reason, yeah, Control and Shift, and go to about 60-ish% to the edge of our other layers. Going to change this to Subtract, hit the F button, and it'll bring up the feather options with that layer selected, and we can just feather the crap out of it. Love feathering the crap out of stuff because it's feathering the crap out of it. Alright, so one thing, what should we do? We can start parenting stuff to this, which will make it so if we move things around, it will move with it. But one thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to parent the position of our base image to the position of this. So that way, for things later on, if we just parent the position, it doesn't screw things up, because when we turn this into a much more three-dimensional object, it could really be screwing things up. So now we can just move one layer around, and it moves all of them around. Bada bing, bada boom. We don't have anything in 3D space yet, but I think we can hold off on that, because certain things are easier to get out of the way if we do it earlier. So let's add some fun little effects. If you notice in the original composition, what we have is, it takes a little bit to start loading, but once it does, it loads decently fast. We've got this lovely little cotton type effect. That is, yeah, it's very nice. and it moves in 3D space with the camera, all within the crystal ball. Now, we're going to have some fun doing this. So what we're going to do, in order to make this, like right off the bat, it's not going to be in 3D space, so if you're trying that out and it's not working for you, it's okay. We'll get to that in a minute. So what I did, I have this smoke loop effect, which I believe I got from a video Copilot video. I think it was like the portal effect. You can use like an actual cotton image. It probably works better. What I like this for is, let's pre-compose this and leave all attributes. So yeah, what I like this for is the fact that it actually moves, and it's still sort of a puffy, cottony effect. And the reason I want it to move is, well, you'll see in a minute. So if I duplicate this, I hit the toggle switches modes and change the track matte to Luma matte. Yeah, the mattes are always a little weird when you first start working with them, but now I'm going to shut this layer off. Go to Layer, New, Solid. It doesn't matter what we call it. You know, I'm just going to... Yeah, I'm not much for organizing things in the way that some people like to do. So now we're going to add the effect Trapcode Particular, which is a plugin, which is very, very helpful. For those of you who don't have it, you could look up you might as well get it. Recommend getting it, but if you don't have it, I guess you could always just duplicate this a whole bunch of times and work with that, but it just doesn't compare to the possibilities of this program. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change the life to like longer than my composition is. I'm going to change it to like 20. Ah! What the heck?
What's it?
Okay, I accidentally clicked on a video. I hate when, because I'm switching between, on my numpad, I'm switching between using numbers and using mouse keys. Sometimes when I try to use something, it switches my composition or does something in another thing, and it's really annoying. I apologize. So I'm going to change that to, yeah, 20. Particle type, I'm going to change this from sphere to sprite. I'm going to go texture. I'm going to go to smoke loop, and it's going to come up with this warning, but I really couldn't care much. But unfortunately, and I'm going to move this over a little bit. Bump this up, so it goes all the way to the end of my frame. You can make it go longer, it really doesn't make a difference. The reason we have their life so long is so they don't die, essentially. You just want it longer than your composition, so that it'll last to the end, even after you've bunched it in. I'm going to change the size. Actually, let's solo this layer so we can see what's going on. Change the size of this. Oh, I'm also going to change the time sampling to random still frame, and that's where we get all this. We're also going to go to the emitter. I'm going to change all the velocities to 0. So then it really doesn't move at all. You may be thinking, well, dude, you're crazy. No, you just have a whole bunch of stupid stuff just sitting in one spot. Well, how we fix this is we change it to sphere or box. Really doesn't matter too much what you do. And then we can change the emitter size X. Yeah, for those who aren't using Particular to do this, you probably it probably wouldn't take that many of these smoke things if you didn't want to use that many. Anyway, I'm going to get back to doing this. We change the emitter X, emitter Y, doesn't matter if it goes outside. Change how many particles are being made. You want it to, I'm also going to move it down a bit because I want it to basically be this like cotton stuff that he's sitting on. I'm gonna go to color correction. I'm gonna go to tint, because tint is really nice for coloring things in basic coloring. And I'm going to just move the map black up to a grayer color. So, seeing as the map white is already by default white, map white is, I'm going to turn the brighter colors into this, and I'm going to turn the darker colors into this. For example, if I do a new adjustment layer, which basically adjusts everything in the composition, I don't know why I'm doing this much to explain tint, but suddenly everything that's dark is black, everything that's bright is white, and it sort of meshes the in-between. However, if I change this to like a red, and this to like a dark green, you can see how it works, you know, the dark stuff, and then we have a percentage, which is actually kind of nice. Alright, I think I took way too long to explain a really basic plugin, and I'm not quite sure why. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the stopwatch on particles per second, go to U, let's move this over one more frame, move it to the right one frame, change the particles per second to 0, and let's do that. So, oh, right. So I don't have to deal with the the roto brushing. Seeing as I'm just using a still frame, I'm just going to freeze frame, save a whole bunch of time and render speed. It just becomes easier, basically. So now, as you notice, this is kind of coming off weird, and you don't like it that way. Well, obviously you don't like it that way. Why would you? So I'm going to create a new solid. I'm going to call this matte. And I'm going to shut this off, hit the ellipse tool, go back to my half by half of my composition, which is 960. Oh, come on. Oh, right. By 540. I'm going to hit Control and Shift, go all the way to the end, and if you have to choose between smaller or bigger, I'd probably go a little bit smaller than the actual composition, and apparently it's a little bit off in location, so if I want to change it, I can hit spacebar and change it mid-mask. Unselect it, and oh, I accidentally added the mask to the wrong layer, so I'm just going to cut that and add it to the matte. Problem solved. So now I'm going to move this above here, and I'm going to put the matte above my cotton. I'm going to change this to cotton bottom, cotton lower, or behind. Cotton behind is better. And I'm going to change this to an alpha matte. So now, as you notice, all the outside stuff is gone. And I'm going to Control D, which apparently doesn't like duplicating more than one object today. Don't know why, it's always done it before, but I'm going to put one on top. And I'm also going to start messing around with the settings a bit. I'm going to turn the bottom one off just so I can see exactly what I'm working with here. If I go back to how many particles per second I was using, I'm going to lower it a bit because it's just in front. I don't want it to be as big of a deal. I'm going to change the size Y down a bit, move the whole thing down. And you could change, I guess changing the size random would also be a good idea in both of them, now that I think about it. Size random and opacity random. It'll give you a bit more of a sort of oomph to it, I guess. More variation between each thing. Opacity random. change that up a bit. It's pretty high opacity random, but whatever. And so that's what I have. I might also move it back over that one frame. And, let's drop the opacity. I'll probably drop it to like 90% so you can still see a little bit over it. So now this is kind of what we've got. I'm also going to move the one behind back, and seeing as the dimensions are a little bit weird within plugins such as Particular, it's going to be positive for going back and negative for going forward. And this is why we can change the emitter size Z, and we can make this a little bit more perfect later on. So now that we have this, we actually have the ability to start going into 3D space, although actually I think I want to add one more thing. I'm going to go solid. Seeing as we've already got this mask for matte, I'm going to copy it, pre-compose this layer first, seeing as we've really not done anything and nothing changes. Now it finally doesn't matter if we leave all attributes or not. So now that we've got this, I'm going to add the CC Snowfall effect. It used to be called CC Snow in older versions of the program. And basically what this does is it creates this snow, which is kind of hard to see, so I'll bump up the size and how many there are, and now you can sort of see its snowfall. It's very, very nice. It looks awesome. It really does. Especially seeing as it's just like a little effect that's, it can add that extra depth. Seeing as I'm going to be doing 2 of these, I guess. So now that I think about it, let's new solid. Pre-compose this one also. Move all attributes this time just because we can. Add the CC Snowfall effect. I'm going to make this snow front. Snow front. This one will be snow back. So in snow back, let's just let it change the name. And I'm going to increase the amount of flakes, but I'm also going to increase their size a bit so they show up better, but I'm not going to have them show up. I can close that down, I don't need that. Snow front, I like that. I'm also going to probably change the scene depth a bit, lower it a bit. However, you'll notice that things start to bunch up and get really big, so you may want to change the size down or the particle amount down. Oh, it's not really particles necessarily, but you get my point. Yeah, audio's still working. Just checking, because that'd be scary if I've been recording for the last like 35 minutes and it hasn't recorded. So, I've already tried to record this tutorial once today and it didn't work at all. Because After Effects really does hate me, and I was having issues with the camera and not wanting to work and all kinds of weird stuff. Point irrelevant, we are going to be moving on. So we're going to add the lens effect, not lens, CC lens, and we are going to drop the size down a bit. Let's go to our main comp. Which one am I in? I'm in snow back, so I'm going to turn off snow front. And I'm going to turn off show mask paths. lock this up with this little lock box up here, move over to ours, and now we can have all kinds of fun. I'm also going to turn off the mask so it shows up a little better. Now I believe it was about 20.5, that was about the right size. 20? 16. I don't know, you want to play around with this a little bit. 18 looks perfect now this time, I guess. And I'm going to drop the convergence a lot because I don't like having that much convergence. It looks kind of stupid. Here's sort of what we've got. If we change this now to screen, it's going to be over top. I'm going to put it underneath our layer, seeing as this is... Now we're going to go to... Yeah, seeing as this is snow back, I'm going to put it below our image. I'm even going to put it behind the car. Now for snow front, we're going to basically do the same thing. CC lens, I believe 18 was our magic number. Drop the convergence a lot. Probably best to do the same amount, but I sort of do the convergence the way I feel like doing the convergence. So now we'll change this to screen also. There's also a wonderful effect called edge blur, which will just really help us blur that little bit of edge we've got. So if we take this off of screen, we can see what's going on a bit better. Actually, let's use the composite. Okay, never mind. I want the key correct version. Okay, they're the exact same. I don't know why there's two versions of the same edge blur. Whatever. I'm going to change this to about 5 by 5. You can do whatever you want, whatever looks good. I'm going to move this to below our, above our layer, screen, and oh yeah, I'm going to change that back to screen. There's my problem. And this one is going to become, might as well add the mask just because. And I'll add the edge blur to my bottom one also. Snow back. So we've got, that looks kind of nice. I think I'd actually like to change the size on snow front, which is apparently done by lowering the amount of flakes. Instead of the size, it's a little weird, but you figure it out. So, you know, mess around with this a little bit, see how much you like it. I'm perfectly fine with this so far, so I'm just going to keep that. Now I'm going to, what should we do? Let's start turning things into 3D. There's an interesting expression that we use here that is, I hate expressions, and expressions hate me. So we're going to use it. Let's just shorten all these layers up a bit so we can see what's going on a little bit better. Make basically everything 3D. I guess would be a good idea. Let's make our reflection. Let's change this name to reflection. Start actually trying to be organized for once. Actually, I still want to keep that name because I recognize that name from image. Change this to cut in front. And BG. Alright, so this is what we got. So now, how we're going to get this to suddenly become a whole bunch of 3D awesome mess type stuff. We are going to move the reflection to 3D. The top and bottom of the thing to 3D. So let's see, snow back. Yeah, let's change the snows to 3D. The mats to 3D. But not the cotton, because the cotton, its 3D is built in by Particular, and it just turned weird. Image to 3D also. So yeah, let's do that. Now we can, yeah, let's also turn the background to 3D, and let's push it back a bit. Probably a bit more. And then go to the motion tile effect. Actually, let's also scale it up a crazy amount. Now, it looks like, well, he didn't really do anything, but I did. I moved it back and scaled it up. It's quite a bit different than just changing the size of it, at least when you're working with a camera. Otherwise, not really. Yeah. So, just change the output width to about 200 by 200, mirror edges. That's about your typical motion tile effect. Motion tile is basically the I'm gonna fix whatever went wrong in production effect. At least for me. Same with motion blur. You know, there's all kinds of cheap tricks within this trade that just blur out everything that's screwed up. So now we have some crazy. Actually, we gotta add a camera first, so let's add a camera. Let's just do this. I was having some issues with it screwing up before. See, it doesn't add the point of interest because the 50mm preset is it's the built-in camera for After Effects, because it's the one that doesn't change the size. Because as we can see, if I do this 15mm, oh, it's all the way back 135. 50mm is the exact size of the one there, but if I hit reset, it comes back, so everyone is happy. Pretty much. I still don't know why it doesn't come with the point of interest built in, but yeah. As we can see, this moves around, and it kind of looks good for the first, like, 3 seconds. Actually, I'm going to duplicate this camera, so I like having 2 cameras when I'm working with something like this. One for, I'm going to make this like main camera, and I've got one that I just like to test effects with. So I'm going to call it test camera, and this way, if I've got the motion for one thing, I can keep this all looking straight. But I can go to this test camera and do all kinds of moving around and not really have to worry about going back to the exact right position I want and whatever. So what I'm doing here, actually I'm going to do that in a minute. It'll make more sense. And it'll probably work better. So yeah, let's go back to our main camera. And the way that it can tell the active camera of the scene is basically the first one down the line that is turned on. So this little eye thing will turn it on or off. So now, seeing as we have all the rotations parented to this one, this is perfect. Seeing as it will save us a lot of issue. Let's just all click on all 3 of these, because we're going to start adding an expression to this. So it's, I can't remember exactly what it is. I'll probably have to copy and paste it, but it's look at parentheses. Oh, what is it? This comp dot active camera dot position, comma position, end parentheses, bracket. Why won't my bracket come up? Okay, my bracket's apparently not coming up. It's coming up as this, and I haven't a clue why. Well, let's at least see how close I got to it, because I actually have. Okay, look at this comp.activeCamera. Okay, apparently the capitals do also matter, but this comp.activeCamera.position comp. Okay, I had it right. I just screwed up the capitals. Anyway, I couldn't do it anyway because the stupid bracket wouldn't work. And we're going to copy this to all three of them. But for the X, we're going to have it in brackets say 0. Yeah. I really have no idea. Is my things Canadian multilingual standard? There we go. Fixed it. Alright, so we got the bracket working now. So we're inside the bracket here, we're going to change this to 1, and we're going to change this to 2. So basically what After Effects does is it has, instead of having their dimensions listed as, X, Y, and Z, like what their names are, it's a little confusing. They decide to use 0, 1, and 2. So if you change the the position of 0 in an expression, that's going to change your X value. Change the position of Y, 1, it's going to be the Y, and 2, it's going to be the Z. So this is what we've got here. So 2 is the Z, 1 is the Y, and 0 is that. Basic enough. Now we sort of have it move around, but it still doesn't quite look right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to select this layer, go to Layer, New, Transform, Auto Orient, also Control Alt O. Go to Orient Towards Camera. Now it moves fantastically. Kind of what we also want to do is some of the other, oh, that explains why my snows are not parented. And something is apparently not in 3D. Is one of my snows not in 3D? Something's not in 3D. Anyway, we can also fix, just for the heck of it, let's just turn everything we need into auto-orienting towards camera, like my snows, my shapes, like my back and everything. Auto-orient towards camera, and there we go. Now I'm seeing something not moving around here, so I'm kind of curious as to what in the world that is. It looks like snow. However, the snow should be moving. Oh, it's because it is oriented towards the camera. Yeah, okay, you don't really have to orient it towards the camera. Let's see, I'll probably actually not orient the snow towards the camera now that I think about it. Whatever, I'll just keep it there. You can mess around with that if you want. It basically comes up with this, which is not really that noticeable until it's like way too late. But now we're going to go back to my test camera so I can actually have fun with this. And one thing I'm noticing is this is all out of whack. So I'm going to go to Cotton Front, and I'm going to lower its distance, and my matte, that is something that is wrong. Matte is absolutely supposed to be parented. Matte, parent that. Parent the other matte. So now, Cotton Front, if we move this down, there, now it works better. Sorry about that. Yeah, parent the mats and cut in behind. Let's move this down so it's a bit more the positioning we want, and we can see here it's sort of this really nice 3D spot. Change the Z distance, sort of even it out. Once again, seeing as we've got the mat up, it's genius. We don't have to worry about if it goes out of position or not. Change the Z. Move it forward a bit. Minus 50, I guess. It's about where I want it. And that looks pretty darn good to me. Like, I'd be pretty happy with that effect alone. The only problem is I don't really have a 3D stitch, but I can't do a whole heck of a lot about that. You could probably use like a 3ds Max object. Oh crap, I've been using my main camera. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, I'd be pretty happy with that effect on its own. Just saying, that's pretty much everything you need. I'm not going to stop there, don't worry. Although you can probably tell that by the length of the video. Although, you never know. I could just spend 4 hours just signing off and rambling on about all kinds of crazy stuff. You never know with me. I am, like, at least 50% mental. Alright. I'm actually kind of curious if Element 3D would work. Let's try that. New solid. Let's move this solid around where the image is. Go down to Video Copilot, Element. Watches today, Element's just going to decide not to work. We'll load up, Oh, here goes After Effects. It's wanting to die, but I'm not going to let it die. Let's just add an apple in. You know, nice little apple. No big deal. I'm just going to save this just in case, because that's one thing you should always do, is save a lot. One thing I'd probably do is create a null for this. I really don't know if this is going to work, to be honest, so that's why So, I may or may not omit it if it doesn't. And, alright, we can do that. Now, go back to our test camera and see how well that worked. I'm actually good with that. I like that. You know, it kind of screws up with the particular getting in the way, and there is a way to fix that using Z depth and crap like that, but and you know what, I'm going to show it to you. It's a little complicated, but we're going to open up position by hitting P and Shift A. We're going to get the main camera's point of interest and position. I really had zero intention of going over this, but let's do it. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to pre-compose this into Move All Attributes. Yeah, shut up. I could care less about your stupidness. Create null. Probably should have just copied the null in. Change the scale to 44%, and that's really all I did. So now we have the exact same thing. We can go render setting, no, output. Change this to Z depth and sort of look for it by moving these around. It's a little hard to figure out. And try to get some Z depth going there. I'm also going to create a new camera. Watch as this time it's not going to work for me. I'm calling it now. It's not going to work for me. I'm going to go over the, like, even if it does end up working, I'm just going to go over the basics. I'm not going to fine tune it. You can do that yourself. But where am I? Transform. Oh, reset. Because hit that reset and thank goodness the point of interest comes back. I couldn't figure it out online and it was messed up. I already tried to record this tutorial, although I did not do the apple. I'm kind of glad, and this whole thing's working better this time, so yeah, I'll click both of these, scroll up there, link the position and the point of interest. Now we can exit out of this. So it's not going to work with the test camera, I guess, but actually, you know what? Let's just create a test camera for this also. No, let's go into I'm going to call this Z depth pass, because that's kind of what it is. It's Z dimension depth. Cotton front. We're going to use, I believe there's an effect under visibility, Z buffer, Z depth pass. I really don't care to show the Z depth pass, but now Z at black. Oh, there we go. Nice. So what we have now is pretty much the ability to have it move in 3D space. If we go into these, actually, let's lock. I hate when this gets all weird. Actually, seeing as we have two of these, we can just move this to the side, so we have two. Ha ha ha. Why? Because I said so. I'm going to change. That one's going to be stay comp 3. This one's going to be less comp 3. More composition black 18 solid comp 1. And I can mess around with exactly all these little dimensions here. Come on. Go to this. Actually, let's just lock them both. Just because we can. And hopefully we'll get this to work. Actually, I probably have to link these two to exactly where they are. Let's go 3,000 by 1,000, and that will probably actually be what it needs to be. Actually, just so we can keep coming back to this, turn off the emitter and the particle. And 3,000. Z depth and so now we somewhat have what we need. Z depth black. We can move this up a bit. Oh, you get the idea. It works nicely, as you can see. I really expected that to not work, but I'm really happy it did. But yeah, that is how you get particular and element to work together in 3D space. Really helpful thing to learn there. I haven't actually done that too much, ever. So it's nice to work with. So next, as you probably realized in the original, we can unlock this. This is on a table, which I showed you was 3D. I'll show you again, because I freaking can. Takes a second to start loading things, but then it loads decently. As you can see, it's a semi-3D table. So what we're going to do for that is, seeing as we do not actually have a 3D table, if you do an element, dude, that's friggin' fantastic. Use that. I did not feel like getting a table in 3D. I don't know. I probably should have. I went through a much more complicated method of making one. Method that I think is the #1 thing in all of After Effects that hates me. So prepare for it to not work, although I've said that how many times and things actually did work. I've got an image around here somewhere. I can't remember what I called it though. If I go to Comp 1, it's under O. Because I'm so good at naming things. When I take an image off of Google, I just leave the name, I guess. But so this is basically it. It's fantastic. I've already gone through and Z-brushed this, or not Z-brushed. I did a whole bunch of stuff to this one already to make it work. Just going to reset its position. 960 by 540 by 0 is the default position. And what I did here, I've already spent a bunch of time. I went through with the clone stamp tool and I very carefully stamped this all out, and basically I showed you how to do that already. I've also used the Roto brush and a bit of the Roto brush to get rid of all this stuff on the background. I also used this wonderful effect color range, which takes out all the white. It's really basic stuff. I also used motion tile to extend the crap out of it, so it's a bit longer of a table. It's all stuff I've already shown you basically, except for color range, but color range is basically click on the area and adjust the numbers according to what you want. And it's very fine-tunable, it's very easy, and it's killer helpful. So, I'm just going to go back to what I had before. I just really don't feel like doing all that in front of you guys, and it takes a while, so that's why I'm not going to show you how I did it. But I did tell you, so we're good, right? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put this here, and boom, we're totally done, right? See, it's somewhat 3D. No, we can't do that. It's too friggin' easy. Move this over a bit because that decided to get in the way. Yeah, that is way too easy. I will, however, probably pre-compose this just for the sake of it. I love pre-composing and what it does. Actually, no. I'm going to pre-compose, leave all attributes, and then copy and paste these three. Actually, no, just cut and paste. And now we have all that extended crap, and yeah, it works out for the best. We can get rid of that and get rid of this. Let's see, my table. Yeah, I guess if we want to extend the size of my table, I'll have to, seeing as I what did I multiply it by? Okay, I changed the width of this to 200%. So I'm going to go to composition settings, width times 2. And it comes up with this like stupid long thing. This is all painted out, so thankfully I don't have to worry about that stupid... Oh, the stupid fruit ball's still there somewhat. I hate that stupid fruit ball. Fruit ball should just friggin' die. Oh, right, because I have a mask. Yeah, I'm also going to copy him. I'm just going to cut and paste that. Also, I forgot I had a mask. I'm also going to adjust that mask. Turn back on the mask. That's why I couldn't tell before. And make it so it cuts off the whole fruit bowl. Nice, easy, quick fix. That's like 20% cheating, because it doesn't actually do what you want it to. And now the reason I did that is because I want it to be extended, but I don't want to have this. Now that it's pre-composed, I can mask that out, subtract, and no one will know the difference. So now, what you probably noticed, let's start by making a new solid at this position. Actually, let's just, let's just duplicate the matte, put it below all of our orb, change its name to Shadow the Hedgehog. Yes, Shadow the Hedgehog. And I'm going to have it not auto-orient, kind of. I'm going to rotate it on the x-axis 90 degrees. Actually, I'll do it negative 90 degrees or 270 degrees, so this is facing up, because I prefer it that way. Going to move this right to the bottom. Unparent this. One of the more brilliant ideas would be take yet another adjustment layer. Oh, I haven't done adjustment layers in this. Basically, if you add an adjustment layer between two 3D layers, they will the top one will always be on top no matter what. So that's what I'm going to do here, because you can do this with basically any solid object that's activated, as long as you have, like, it's just the way that it works, and it absolutely makes sense, and it's very helpful. Let's bump up the feather. I don't want it that big, so drop the expansion a bit, and change this to overlay. Probably no, that's too. Yeah, let's just drop the opacity to about 85%, and that'll do for now. So we've got a bit of a shadow for our magnificent orb of destruction. Actually, we should do that someday. We should totally make an orb of destruction tutorial, and we'll do like a group tutorial. All like 2 people who will actually watch this video will all come together and do an orb of destruction tutorial for everyone. And if everyone's doing the tutorial, no one's watching it, but it'll be amazing, because we'll all figure out how to do the effect at once anyway. You will learn it at the same speed that I do. So, now we're going to get into something that actually makes sense. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to duplicate this and make this into a guide layer so it like doesn't actually exist, and put it below here. And what a guide layer is basically it looks like it exists, but if you render it or pre-compose this composition, you will no longer be able to see the guide layer. Now I'm going to pre-compose this origin, move all attributes, kind of probably not the best idea. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. I'm going to do something really stupid. I did mention like 10 minutes ago when I was supposed to do it that we're going to do something that absolutely hates me. So we're going to frickin' do that. We're going to do something that hates me. Because that's how you confront things, is you do something that hates you. Alright, let's pre-compose this layer. You know what, no. Screw it, let's just use this layer. Pre-compose it. Move all attributes. So yeah, that is what we do. And we'll go into that layer. And we're going to soon hate ourselves, because we're going to realize we just did something really bad. What this is called, it's a really complicated concept that I'm actually going to be going into in much greater depth in a somewhat soon upcoming tutorial. It's projection. Video Copilot already has something up on projection, and it's a very interesting concept. Just in general, the concept of projecting things within After Effects. You could literally have a projector actually project something within After Effects, and I'm not going to explain it too in depth, but basically, shut this off. I'm going to have one layer for this side here, one for the tabletop, and one for these legs. So that's what I'm going to do. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm going to model this very roughly with these white solids. I'm going to turn them all into 3D layers. And let's move this down over a bit. Let's add a new adjustment layer in between, just because for now. Keep them separate. Yeah, we're going to try and mask these out. I'm going to drop the opacity on all these to like 50 anyway, so that way we can see through them. And that looks about good for that one. This one, good idea would also be to add basically your test camera. Never called it a test camera before, but that's really what it is. I just like using the unified camera tool because it really does everything. Although I keep forgetting. Apparently we have to reset now because it's decided to be stupid. And we're going to really we're just modeling our entire thing here, and we don't have to be too precise because we can deal with the precision stuff later. And layer, new camera. I'm gonna create my actual camera, or better yet, I'll just create my actual camera. Layer, new camera. I've got like 4 million ideas going through my head at once, so it's kind of hard to remember what exactly I'm working on now. And let's have one more of these. Down, still forward a bit. Let's go back to our test camera. Find out where this is, where we want it to be. Want it to be like something like that. And we're freaking good now, I think. Something like that. You see? So, now we're going to mask this out. you want to have the correct layer selected, obviously. My bad. I'll probably detail this a bit more later. Alright. And that should be about right. So let's add one more point in there. I hear my dog stirring. Wonder what she is up to. Alright, so let's start making this edge. Oh, she's definitely stirring. Hopefully it is some soup or something, because I could go for some food right now. Holy crap, it's late. I have things to do in the morning. Wait, no I don't. I have nothing to do ever. So yeah, let's sort of fine-tune these-ish. And we'll get to the rest later. And start masking this. You want it to be more on the inside of the object than the outside, just saying. Actually, let's take all three of these, and not the camera, parent them to our original so we can move this up if we want. Yeah, we got this. This way I can just get more of the leg in here. And should be something like that. And you get the point. So that's what we got here. Gonna change all three of these back to 100%. Change this into a guide layer and shut it off. Let's see how this looks. Holy crap. Go back to my test camera and see how it looks. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna move this forward a bit. Back to the test camera. Yeah, that'll be good for now anyway. Let's go back to our real camera. Now what we're gonna do, save the whole thing, because it's a genius idea, you know, saving. It was invented for a friggin' reason. I'm just gonna do everything all in one go. Computer crashes? So what? Alright, so we can use a point or a spotlight for this. Either one will work. Change the intensity to about 100. Make sure it casts shadows, and other than that, shadow dark, it doesn't really matter too much. And for this we're going to be dealing with a lot of material layers, or material options. I'm just going to select them all, go to material options, open that up, and bada bing bada boom. I'm going to have to duplicate this, take it off of guide layer, position. I'm going to open up the camera. I'm going to put this over top of these, and the position is going to be equal to the position of this. Control C for copy, and let's paste the position. Actually, let's do it of the main camera. Camera position, copy, paste it. Paste it again, just because. Just to make sure we get the point. Make sure he understands what we're trying to do. And now we're going to do the same thing to the light. And you may be thinking, dude, you are freaking insane. This makes no sense. My white is suddenly turned into black. I don't understand. And I say, shush, 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 shush. We will figure this out together. Except I already kind of know what we're doing. Sure hope so, because I'm the one doing the tutorial. And if I don't know what I'm doing, we all screwed, son. But we're going to go to the material options on this. Take out the transform, because I really don't need that. Transformers. No. I'm not doing a transformers thing. I'm going to change this to cast shadows on. Actually, I will open up the position though. I want this, change the cast shadows to off for a second. Let's make this like that. Comes out a little bit. So if we go to our test camera, we can move over and see where it is. It's right about that spot. We can move the main camera around later anyway, but yeah, we want the main camera on. We want it something like that. We can scale this down. Let's drop the opacity to about 50% so we can see through it. Scale it down. And you want to position it right. Actually, don't use those sliders because it's so close to the camera it's going to move like crazy. You want to put it like right where you want it. That is like perfect there, actually. I really did not expect it to be that simple. But yeah, we got that to work. Going to go back to our material options. Going to go to cast shadows on. Actually, let's change it. Depending on what you're doing, you can change it to on or only. Only is the really helpful one. Light transmission to 100%. Go to these three white solids. And they do have to be white in this case, so if something's not working in a minute, you'll know why. We want cast shadows to be off, except shadows on, except lights off. And see what we did there? Boom! That I'm actually surprised that actually worked. That is fan-frigging-tastic. So now if we go to full resolution, what can we see here but something that's not too crappy? Now this is when a lot of fine-tuning comes into play, where you play around with this, try to get it to not suck as much. You can be as detailed as you freaking want with this. Go nuts. I'm probably just going to make it so that I don't see any white. Because I've already done this once before and it took me close to forever. But obviously not forever because I'm still existing in the now. And I did finish it the first time. But yeah, let's do that. Something like that. And yeah, let's go to our test camera and what can we see? We can see all kinds of craziness. We can turn off the guide layer because the guide layer we really don't need anymore. And yeah, this is what we can see. And this is why I said you can turn it to on or only. If you're removing the camera afterwards, you can change it to on because if you're closer. Let's we could try that, I guess. And kind of works, kind of doesn't. Looks decent to me though. Like honestly, I'm very happy with that. One thing we will do though, if we go into composition settings, go to advanced, we can go to options, changes to 4000, and it's higher resolution. This is before, this is after. It's I don't know how much you guys can see that, but from what I see, it's pretty freaking amazing how much better it is. I was happy with it before, but now I'm very happy with it. And if you want to see what it looks like, I definitely recommend watching it in full resolution. Just saying. If you have it in anything less than full, it tends to look kind of crap. Just letting you know. So you want to do that. At the very least, you do want to try and make it so there aren't any of these white spots visible with your mask. But you can make it come in all you want. That's not really a big deal. If you want to search out for white spots better, you can always change this to black. I'm going to feather these all about 3 pixels. This top one apparently didn't get feathered, or this bottom one. Convert vertex tool. Just started using that tool, but I really like how it helps do things. I do like it. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. Trim this up, and I'll be good with that. Now, this is already a little step over what the Video Copilot tutorial on projection has. For the most part, that's what they taught. However, we're already a little bit past that with going into more advanced modeling of scenes. Now we're going to go into some really crazy crap. We're going to select these 2 layers. The projected image. Actually, we could change that to projected. And projected 2. Sounds like a movie title. Projected 2. I saw Projected 2 at the movie theater the other day. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to move this light around there. Parent projected to the light. That way, if you decide to move it around or something, it just it makes things happier. So what I'm going to be doing here is move this over here, because what you saw in the original is I've also got this little corner here, and I kind of cheated with this. What I did is go back to active camera. I duplicated this layer. I moved it over. I rotated it this way, approximately 90 degrees. And I lined this up, sort of. We'll deal with that when we get to this direction. Oh, that's way freaking off. It's okay though. We're still possibly gonna live. And I'll be honest, I wouldn't know if we're going to live, because I don't know that kind of stuff. And who am I to say that someone's not just sitting there with a sniper rifle waiting and waiting? Okay, I probably want to change this to a point light, because that way I can rotate it, or a spotlight. But then we have to deal with the cone angle, but I'll care about that later. Go back to active camera. So we can where is our fantastic white solid? It's our fantastically fantastic white solid, and we're going to change this to none. It's a nonogon. Size this up for 1. Put this all the way up here, so it's nice where we want it. Nice and where we want it. Projected. I can move this up a bit. Up a bit. Up a bit. 50%. Oh, right. Gotta also move this to about 50%. Oh, we can see what we're doing. I'm going to sort of line this up with roughly where I want it to be. And I'd probably actually line that up too, because that's pretty off, I can tell now. Let's just delete some of these points so we can get through this a little faster, because man, it's starting to get kind of late. Scale it down. Position X. I think a good idea would actually be hit this, subtract the X value, so that way I can move it over. And just sort of work your way into the position that you want it to be in. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. Change that to full freaking opacity. Mask this. And change this back to add. And I did find that this one was also probably the hardest. I did forget to do that though. I'm going to go to the projected material options, cast shadows to on for this one. Seeing as this really isn't interfering with the camera, I don't care a whole heck of a lot. Going to start adding a mask to this, so we just send off what is masked here. And obviously, once again, you can get as detailed as you like, but I'm not going to. That's about as detailed as I really want to get. So that's going to project just that part. You get rid of the first mask, and it's going to project onto there. Now we can deal with this mask. Make sure it lines up. If you want to move something along a straight, like move it straight up or straight right or left or whatever, you can always hit Shift. Just so you know that. It's a nice thing to know, in my opinion. Saves a lot of effort sometimes. And yeah, this effect originally took me a very long time to get to the point where I was really happy with it, so I'm gonna leave it about like that. After I do want to improve this, however. Bring this all the way to this edge here. Get as much of that projected information as we possibly can. Make it seem somewhat like a 3D object. Now, it probably is entirely possible to turn this into a complete 3D object if you decide to go absolutely nuts with this effect. I've shown you how you could totally do that. But it's, I'm not going to actually do that myself. So let's go back to our main camera, and this is kind of what we get. And I'm just... should I care about that this time? I don't want to. I'm not really going to care about the nice fine edge this time. Sorry. Sorry. For those who understand that reference. You are way too sad of a gamer. That's true old school computer gaming for you. There we go. You know what? That's perfectly fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this composition, move it down like this, and once again we are going to link the camera. So you probably already... We spent so long in that composition, you probably forgot that we have this composition. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to take the main camera. We already have it up. Fantastic. We're going to hit P, Shift A. So it brings these up in... Alt-click both of those, bring up the expressions, position, pick whip effect, point of interest, pick whip, boom. And there we go. So whatever we do in this main composition will show up in this composition. So we could... actually, let's cut that out. That way, we can almost move this as if it was in the scene. I have a version of this which is still sitting here, which is just a guide layer, so it would have been fine, but yeah, this is sort of what we get. Now, in order to fine-tune this even further, I'm going to go into this composition. Yeah, we're not quite done with it yet, but don't worry. There is some hope for the future that we may be done with it. But not much. Yeah, this was like the #1 thing I had to mess with for this tutorial, like when I was originally creating it. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna work. No, that actually did work. I'm surprised by that. Yeah, that one feels very much like a lost cause, unless I Actually, that's not a half bad idea. Seeing as, let's see, under stylize, let's try and motion tile this. Nope, didn't work. Okay. So I guess I could just duplicate that so I don't have to extend it and fix the mask all over again. So I can move this along here. Cut off these 2 points. Lock these up, and it doesn't really matter too much how far we go off here because I'm not keeping half of it. Delete those 2 points and just go off far enough so we can do all kinds of weird stuff with it. Alright. That's right. And that's why we have the test camera, so we can do all kinds of weird stuff to it. We can mess around with our composition afterwards. Now what we're going to do is we still has the test camera. Okay, that looks fine. That's all I wanted to check. So we're going to make a new null object. Make it 3D. Just saying this is what I did to make thing. It saved my life every time I needed to move something. I was able to move it by doing this. Now where's 14 original? Okay, I don't want to parent it to the original anymore. Just being honest. I do believe I want to select like all of these though and parent them to the null. I believe. And for some reason this one, sometimes when you decide to parent a whole bunch of stuff to something, certain layers decide, oh, well, I'm going to move a little bit on my own, despite the fact that you didn't tell me you wanted me to move. Alright. And, you know, I could get picky about all this crap, and I probably will. I apologize for taking so long on this particular bit. Move this up on Y. Why not? Yeah. And that's why not. So we're going to go to the projected, deal with all moving this crap again, move this up, or at least into where I want the mask points to be roughly. I don't know, there's only a certain level of pathetic look I'm allowed to use in a tutorial that's based on concept. You know, if you're doing something for specific looks, you're kind of screwed from the beginning there. It's like required that you make it look perfect. But for something like this, it's more based on concept, so there's a lot of leeway given to things of that sort. At least I hope so. Because that's the way it's going to be. So hopefully now we finally have that, but we can now take the null and move it around like it's no one's business. We can even rotate our entire frigging table. But we're probably not going to. The only thing I want to do with that is I want to make sure it's where it should be in 3D space. I'm going to move it back a bit. I want it over a bit more this way. And now we should have the ability to just do this. That explains a lot. This also has to be moved down. Let's see, I'll put my finger on the screen to tell myself I know where it should be. Except that totally doesn't work, seeing as they're a little bit more. That seems pretty good to me for now. And it moves fairly well in 3D space. Seeing as my table's rotated a bit, I'd probably rotate my shadow a bit, because shadow would be what's on the table. And that looks pretty dang good to me. So for the most part, that is our effect. I think I'm going to change this scale down to, like, I don't know, 35. And move the position down a bit. So I'm going to move it down to 560. Just mentioning that out loud, basically, so I know what to do when I change my Z depth pass. I'm going to change this to 35, and the position to 560. So now our Z depth, I could totally link all those together, but I doubt I'm going to really be spending much time moving around in there. But yeah, now we know how to put 3D objects into that. Another idea you could probably work with is actually using like that lens effect with convergence and warping it, like, yeah, use the lens effect with convergence and make it so anything you put in here becomes under that effect. Actually, let's make this apple. I like the apple. Let's see, new. Actually, let's just make this lens. CC lens, just so we get that little effect going. Make sure it's about the right size. Convergence down to like 10%, but it's still something, and it gives that little extra pop that feels a little bit real. Deal with that how you will. And yeah, I'd probably be happy just leaving it at that. However, in the original I also turned it into like a snow globe kind of with a stand. I had no idea what I wanted to do for a stand, so I'm not going to do step by step how I did all this, although I will show you how I did the 3D shadows. I guess I should. They're not perfect. It's a concept in the works, and I didn't 3D shadow everything, but it's an interesting idea we worked with. So I'll probably show you the basics of how I did everything. That would make the most sense, I believe. Yeah, so much for our test camera. I'm gonna move this over. Oh, right. Gotta. Our apple then moves out of frame. Oh, what? Let's see. This is starting to get ridiculously long. So if we move that, Okay, it was just the lens effect that was screwing it up. Okay. Never mind with the lens effect then. Now, I guess what we could do is go to Layer, New Solid, make it black solid. Black solids again! Yay! Really doesn't matter what color it is. Feel free to use whatever color you wish. Really, all that I'm going to be doing is I'm also going to type here Taz Olson, because this is what I did in the actual thing. And it's black, so we can't see it. But it doesn't matter, because we're just going to shut it off. Take this, add element, which is, I guess I should mention something from Video Copilot. Change the custom, go to the custom layers, custom text and masks. Select your text layer. In my case, it says Taz Olson. I'm going to go into it, hit extrude. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And then, seeing as I don't really feel like spending a ton of time on it, you can have all kinds of fun with these bevels. They do all kinds of, like, stupidly insane stuff. I'm going to pick a nice small one so it helps my, my text work a bit better. Oh crap, I'm going to end up going into something more detailed. Glass inside. I think this is... No, I used something that had a glassy look, but... I'm just going to go with this. Going to tint it a little bit. Because it's the holidays. Might as well go with like some green and red. Some green here. And I want to tint this green, however, it's not. The illumination, or reflection, that's what I'm looking for. There we go. And so this is sort of what we get. It's a 3D-ish type of effect. You can go down to the, let's see, we can go to the render settings, environment. Let's find our reflection map. And seeing as this was basically a very extended thingamajig, I'm tempted to use it. I'm just going to use my background. Showing background, it's a bit small, so let's go with reflection. And we can rotate it around however we wish. Rotate it on the Y. Change it back to BG. Rotate it X the other way. I want to sort of get a bit of that tree in. Should be over here, about there. It's not perfect, but this is hardly the point of the tutorial, is this thing here. It's really not that relevant. Move this over. Now let's scale this sucker up. Looks pretty decent already. You know, we got some nice ideas going here. Let's move these below everything because I want it to work there, and I really don't want to be going through that that Z depth pass mat and all that stuff all over again, but still above the table because we're still compositing a whole bunch of 3D objects from other scenes in messed up ways. So however you want that to be going over or under, I'll just keep it like this so I can track it like that, and that'll basically be all my animation for it. We can now recreate sort of what I did. Let's see. Let's move this over a little bit more, so we have some room for. I'm going to show you guys how I did my backgrounds, like all these guys. I basically went through the Desperate Measures film and just took a couple of the snapshots of each of the main characters, the 4 ones that really were the main characters. So I've already, in compositions, masked these out the way I want them to be. You can mask them. I took some more snapshots of others. I masked Moose out, and I added some extra smoke, and I added an explosion just because I wanted something more. I went through a couple examples. Let's go back and just add in the ones that we actually want. So this is one of the ones I want. Let's put this one above everything. And let's rotate him. Oh yeah, we gotta put him in 3D space also. Rotate you, put you there. Good, sir. Scale you down. And we can activate test camera. Right, because we can't because of the main camera. Main camera is the only one we can use anymore. Crap. But I'm basically showing you some of the concepts of how we can do some of this. Wow, we're at like 2 hours. I'm not going to go in and spend nearly as much time. I spent a long time fine-tuning the effect on the original. I wanted this one, 3D space. I want this one, 3D space. And where's my explosion? Must have explosions. Nothing is perfect without explosions. Even at the Christmas times, we must have explosions. It's just a fact, sorry. And it's not up for a debate, because it's truth. It is 100% truth. Nothing is complete without explosions. So, I'm going to put... See, Moose is the explosion. Is that him? Nope. Here we have our explosion. I'm going to put him beneath everything, but still above our table. And let's take this. I'm going to show you the basics of how I did it. Moose. Let's move you out here. Actually scale you up a bit. Put you up here. Scale you back there. I'm actually going to take the matte layer. I did use this a couple times for this this concept. Let's shut off Ezra and Jeremy for a minute. Let's name them. If you, I don't know, I'm going to use their the names of the characters. You can, whoever you're putting in, you can name them whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna shut those two off. Shut off Mike for a minute too. Name this Moose, because And yeah, I know there's little issues here, but don't really care right now. Have him out like that. I also then duplicated him, made this alpha matte, and seeing as the matte is like always facing the camera, wherever he goes, it does that. And so what I wanted this for was, actually I'm going to take this off of alpha matte, lose the first moose, probably move this over a little bit, and go to the lens effect. I did this a lot. Let's move them both down a bit. On this one, I'm going to move the center of this over. It actually looks just about perfect where it is now. Change it to 48 and just drop the convergence to like 20. So this way, when we turn it back on, he's sort of got this this bubble effect. You know, the shadow on all this is really not working for me. Oh, stupid phone. Actually, if I just change this to like 0. How could we easily change this? I'm really sick of this stupid shadow. Okay, yeah, we can just turn the ambient up to 100 on all of them. Yeah, that's no fun. Reflection. Oh, right, it's in here. I was kind of wondering, it's like, where did everything go? And I think that's going to be the biggest issue. Oh, now it looks more like an ornament. Everything looks fantastic now. Although it looks way too sharp of an edge. I definitely can't have the opacity at 100% now. Alright, now things look much better. We can change this back down to 10 so it has a bit more shading. And, you know, we see now Moose has some, sort of when he goes, ends up being behind the ball, he warps a little bit. Move that over there, down a bit, and line that up again. So we're going to do this one, alpha matte it, so that's like all that shows up. And then we're going to duplicate this matte layer once again, and change this to alpha inverted. So this is all that shows up there, and this is all that shows up here. So when we put them together, creates a bit more of a bulgy effect, although on this one I guess I did. Alright, let's fine-tune this whole thing. Make it so he pretty much becomes complete. Although the edges seems sort of doesn't really matter if it's 100% perfect. Alright, so you've seen how I did that. Mike, I really didn't do anything more than that. Although I probably would recommend moving these rightfully in 3D space, just saying. Might be a nice idea. So, but you know what we got already, it looks pretty nice. I went to the smoke path, not the smoke path. Alright, I imported all of I imported the entire Action Essentials pack in here. That explains why it might be going a little slow. That thing's big. So, let's go to Ezra. This one actually had some interesting stuff that I did to it. We're going to put him about there. I'm going to mask out his leg here because I don't like that leg. Gonna change that to subtract, feather it in case someone can see something. And what I really liked is kind of what I did here. I duplicated it again, move this all the way to the bottom, about where Moose is. It's a little big actually, but I'm going to make sure that this, I link them together, so if I change one of them for whatever reason, like I'm about to now, it kind of lines up still. And what I did here is I decided to mask out his hand on the top one. So it's solo this, bump up this, and solo his hand, his arm. I'm just going to do a rough mask here. Get those fingers in. And seeing as we now no longer are within a mask, we can go crazy with it. Just get all this stuff in. I was kind of tempted to put an, like a muzzle flare in here too, but I ended up not. However, I totally would recommend it if you were doing something like this. And now we have an effect that, oh wait, let's change this back down to half. But now we can go new adjustment layer. I can put this right above the reflection so it never... Right. So this way it doesn't really matter if anything gets in the way, it's always going to be on top. So everything on this side is always going to be on top. And now we've got his hands over top but his body's behind. It's a neat way to cheat the system a little bit. It's a little far back though. So let's go to Ezra. And you know, something like that. It feels about good. Fine tune it. I don't really think I should be fine tuning. It's like 4:30 in the morning. Got to be getting up soon. And Jeremy, really, I just put him in and didn't really have a good shot of him. So I put him in and hid him behind smoke. For how I did that, seeing as I couldn't get a nice full body shot that I liked, during the movie. When I was shooting it, I really didn't think I would end up doing something of this sort. Oh wow, he's much smaller. Okay, let's scale him down even more then. And so what I did, I went to the Action Essentials pack. I believe it was under Dust Elements, and it was a Dust at Cam, one of them. Or no, Dust Wave. It's definitely a Dust Wave. Probably this one. So what I do, bring this in, make it 3D, scroll through where I want it to be. I like that frame. Time, freeze frame. I no longer have to worry about it moving. Bring it up here. I can make it cut off this this sharp edge. I kind of wish it was all shot with a larger angle camera or something from a farther distance, so it didn't have this issue. So we don't have to keep doing all this crap, but we do anyway. Let's scale this down, and yeah, this is basically what I did. I hid him behind a layer of this kind of stuff. And I have an adjustment layer here. Duplicated this, put one underneath them. Change the one on top to have like 50% opacity. Ah! And a whole bunch of stuff like that. I also put them behind the Desperate Measures logo. Anyway, you get the idea. Another thing I also did, actually, it just looks bad so far, so I'm not going to explain that much further. Another thing I actually did do was I went back to the mat, duplicated it once again. I did this for this Ezra's arm and Jeremy's face. Put it over top. Yeah, bring it up here. Let's do it for Mike. This guy right here. Duplicate his layer. Change this to Mike Reflection. Put the mat over top. If it doesn't, keep doing that. Put the mat over top of them. Change it to Alpha Matte. Now we can move him to the side a little bit. So sort of where he would be. Maybe move him back a little bit. And add the CC lens effect. Once again, because this effect never dies. Never, ever, ever gonna die. Ever. The effect is just absolutely too fantastic. Actually, let's turn off the matte for now, so we can see a bit better what we're doing. Actually, we can, I'm going to turn off all of the masks here anyway. So this is actually the frame from the movie that it was. Just so this way I can tell exactly where my lens effect is going. Oh, that's why. Move this up. Looks like about 29 works. Convergence down a lot. Looks like about 20 works there. Go back, change them all to subtract. The first one's on add, because that's just what I had. Put him back. He's sitting there, and now we change this to overlay. And I guess you could, in theory, well, screen wouldn't work very well, because especially seeing as he's wearing black. Add gets a little too bright. Overlay, I find, works pretty nice. and that becomes basically 3D, and it works very, very nicely. So that's that. Now the only thing left to show you in this ridiculously long tutorial that actually does kind of show quite a lot of stuff, so I do feel like it might be justifiable, is I'm going to show you how I did the whatchamacallits, shadows. So I'm going to go in to this layer, take the top white solid. Yeah, we're not done with this layer yet. Take the top white solid. I didn't actually do this the first time, but I should have. Did that. Pre-compose it, or yeah, it's pre-compose it. Move all attributes ish. However, what we want to do again is we want to, seeing as we already have a linked camera, I'm just going to do that. And yeah, we already have a linked camera, so yeah. Now I'm going to change this to a very bright green. Go to solid settings, green, nice bright green, screen type green. Actually, it's a little too green for what I'm looking for. I don't know, it doesn't really matter that much. And yeah, now we've got potential to finally be done with that layer. Maybe. Now we're going to add a light. I'm going to make it a point light. Have it cast shadows, because that's really kind of what we want. Layer new, camera 2. Sure, we can call it camera 2. And of course it's screwed up. So, just making sure my light's basically where I want it. I can choose a little more where I want it to be later. And what I'm now going to do, I'm going to take this layer, duplicate it, paste it into here. I'm going to take the group. Actually, no, I want to take the group for my my text. So that's down here somewhere. Yeah. Take the group for my text, and I'm going to paste it in here, just so I can get the position and rotation and all that kind of stuff, and paste it to my Tazelson thing. So, Control, paste. Control, paste. This is essentially what we're doing. It really doesn't look like it's where our text is. Go up. It's a little weird of a concept. It doesn't quite work. I'm still working out the kinks on it, but it does have some potential to be very nice. Let's just go back to our regular camera. Maybe it'll then work a bit. And okay, so now what we're trying to do is we're going to go to keying, color range, add it to our magnificent shadows, which is this. Once again, color range, just because it's better in my opinion. Your opinion could be different, go for it. I just love color range. And I'm going to put this all the way at the bottom. I originally put put a few more elements into it, but I'm just going to show you how to do it with text. It's the same concept for everything else, because this tutorial is getting on really long. I don't know how some people do it in such a short time. I'm actually going to go to this kind of angle so I can see exactly where my text is, and keep it just above the floor. Well, it really was back there. About halfway through there. Now what we're going to do, going to go to this layer's material options, cast shadows on. Now as we can see here, if we go to this camera, it will reflect the shadows off. I'll reflect them all that way. This is a bit more this way. And it takes a lot of time. Basically what I'm going to end up doing is I'm probably going to just start soloing stuff. And because I'm soloing stuff, I'm going to be able to line things up somewhat where I want them to be. I'm also going to, because I was like, it's the same font as I originally used, so it should be basically the same. However, oh, what's going on? I'm on the wrong camera? Oh. I'm going to, yeah, it basically takes a long time trying to line up exactly where you want, where these two are, but you try to replicate where it is, and seeing as you use bevel on it, thicken this whole thing up, and you'll notice there's green edges here, and with color range we probably could kill those all off. I'm just going to go to exposure and kill them all off right now. Actually, it's probably less RAM taking if we just go mat it straight to black. Now, finally, we can go up to blur, add fast blur because everything else is just too slow. And for the most part, we get the idea. Actually, that worked pretty well. It's not perfect yet. I'd probably mess around with it a little bit more, but I actually think that worked pretty darn well, if I do say so myself, and I do. So that is this Christmas snow globy effect, and a heck of a lot of other things added in, so I hope you enjoyed that, hope you learned a lot, and I'll see you back hopefully next time for when I create yet another tutorial. I have some great tutorials thought up in my head. I'm going to, I'll start working on them a bit more often as I think of them, and I'll be able to get not only more tutorials up on my channel, seeing as I haven't done them in a long time, but a very large bulk of them are going to be more in-depth, and they're going to have a lot more awesome effects, such as this. So, stay tuned for that, subscribe so you can stay updated with those, and until next time, my name is Taz Olson. I'm signing off. Goodbye.